Hey friends, this is Karen from Blue Rooster Farm, and today this video is a twofer. Today we're going to be doing one video in my sewing room and one video in my kitchen. They're both quick and fun and easy. So if you want to see what we're doing, stick around. Thanks for sticking around. Well, we're going to start off in the kitchen, and we are going to be making a cookie bar called Can't Leave Alone bars. And this recipe is from my dear friend Diane, and she shared this with me probably 4 or 5 years ago, if not longer. And it's a delicious, decadent bar cookie that is really good. And if you take this somewhere, I know somebody's going to ask you for the recipe. Then we're going to go into the sewing room and we are going to sew up a quick and easy key fob. And these are fun to do and easy, and anybody that can sew a straight line can sew one of these. They're also really cute. So if you want to watch the sewing, go to the end. If you want to watch all of them, start right here and play all the way through. So here we go. Okay, I've got everything set up and I think you can see all the things you need to see. And like I said earlier, this is called Can't Leave Alone bars. And this came from my friend Diane, and she wrote it out for me because she had brought it to some little event where I taught at that time, and I had to have the recipe. They were so good. We're going to do a little different take on it because this recipe calls for peanut butter chips too, but because we prefer just the peanut butter and not the peanut butter chips, we're going to swap those out. But I'll tell you, I will share the recipe like it's written, and then in the optional part of my recipe, I will put what we're doing today. And so if you don't like the peanut butter chips or you don't have them on hand, usually you have peanut butter on hand and you can just substitute that for the peanut butter. So here we go. So this takes a cake mix, and since I don't usually have cake mixes in the house, I do have my cake mix that I make, and I had to refill it just a while ago because I had gone through it and we just had like a cup left. And so I just mixed up half of a jar just for this. And if you want to see how I make my cake mix, there's a video. Just go to my channel, and it's cake mix in a jar. It's in the heading. You can even search it on my page. But I use this exclusively instead of cake mixes anymore. It's just better and cheaper, and the cake mixes just don't have as much cake mix in them anymore. So if you want a regular size cake, you kind of have to make your own or double the boxes up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what is equivalent to a box. So this recipe, when I use this takes like 5 cups and 5.5 cups of this flour mixture. And that's not what's in a box of cake mix. I looked at how many ounces were in the cake mix, and I believe it was 15 something. And then I just put that many ounces in this bowl, and it ended up to be just shy of 3 cups. So we're going to put, well, I'm going to hold on to this. This is 3 cups. This is going to be our cake mix. I'm going to start off by putting my eggs in my bowl. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I want to give them a whisk. It's going to be a real thick batter, and I want to make sure they get mixed in. Then we're going to add, and I can just take this. And we're going to add a 1/3 cup of oil, any kind of oil that you like to bake with. And like I said, since this is going to be a dry mix, I needed to get that mixed up before I added my cake mix. There is not going to be any other liquid in this. It's just the eggs and the oil. So let's pour this in. And this should be thick, kind of like a pizza dough. And that's why I did not use all of the stuff that I would need for a regular cake mix with this, because I knew we were going to be using only eggs and oil and it would get too thick. And it'll make a nice little ball, kind of like a cookie dough. And I want to get all that flour incorporated. And I am going to also add a little bit of vanilla to this, since my cake mix does not have any of that vanilla flavoring, whereas a regular cake mix would. I'm going to get that. So I'm just going to use my vanilla paste, and I am getting really low on this again. It's not the holidays, so I'm not going through it as quickly as I did during the holidays. So I will probably just wait until later in the year, because I don't tend to do as much baking as I do during the holidays. So I'll probably refill this and just work on using my regular vanilla that I made. So this is a 1-to-1 vanilla to vanilla paste, but I'm going to give this a nice yummy flavor. So I've added a couple of teaspoons to it. And we're just going to mix that in. And make sure it's in. I should have probably added that with the eggs, but I had forgotten that I was going to add that. All right. Clean off my dough spoon here. All right. So now what we're going to do, it says pat 3/4 of this dough into this 9 by 13 pan, and it should be ungreased because we have enough grease or oil in this batter that you don't need any more in the pan. So 3/4 of it. And you can see it's a thick cookie dough. And I'm going to try that, and we'll see if we can get all of that in. And so we're just going to pat it in. And you can use greased fingers, or this silicone spatula seems to be working just fine. And you just want to get the whole bottom of your pan covered. And kind of even. Don't want a big part of the dough on one side and real narrow or real thin on the others. Now we'll set this aside for just a minute, and we are going to take a can of sweetened condensed milk, and we are going to pour it into a microwave safe measuring cup or bowl. And you could do this on the stove too. I prefer the microwave because it's just quick and easy. and she has in hers to put it in a double boiler. I find that when you're working with chocolate chips and sweetened condensed milk, you can combine them really easily by heating up your sweetened condensed milk until it's just hot, and then just adding your chips, and they will quickly melt. Kind of like doing a ganache where you have your cream and you add your chocolate chips to it. All right, so let's stick this in the microwave, and I think I'll stick it in for about 40 seconds. And so while that is heating up, I'm going to bring my pan back over here. Now at this point, according to the recipe, you'd take a cup of peanut butter chips and sprinkle it on top. But we're not going to use chips, we're going to use peanut butter. And this is the real peanut butter that we make. You just take your peanuts and you put them in your food processor or whatever you have that will blend and grind them to a peanut butter. And if you want to see how I do that, just go to my channel, look up homemade peanut butter. And I've stuck about, I think that's about a half a cup. And I'm just going to smooth it out, and I can add more if I want. And there is our sweetened condensed milk. And we like peanut butter, so we might have about a cup on here or 3/4 of a cup. We'll see. I'm just layering it nice and thin. Okay, that was about a half a cup. Let's do about a 1/4 of a cup here. And we keep it in the refrigerator so it stays pretty firm. Oh, that's smelling so good. This is perfect if you're needing a sweet and salty snack. Peanut butter, and then you also have the sweet chocolate chips and cake. Now this is probably a very high calorie item, so you'll only want to eat a small piece when you eat it. It's more like candy, I would say, with all the chocolate. All right, I've got that smoothed out. Let me get our sweetened condensed milk. I ended up zapping it for about a minute. And you're not really needing to cook this because it's going to be cooking in the oven. So to our hot sweetened condensed milk, we're going to add a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips or whatever kind of chips you like. And since this is hot, these will melt pretty quickly. And this right here, this mixture right here is really yummy. If you need a quick ice cream topping, mix up something like this and put it on your, you'd use less chocolate chips, but if you mix this up and just drizzle a little bit on top of ice cream, it is really good. And they're just about melted. Of course, they're cooling down with the chips being added, but they're still warm enough to melt the chips. And as soon as it looks like it's smooth all the way through, doesn't that look good? We're going to pour this on top. So let's just evenly pour it on top. Oh my goodness, that looks good. Now I have made these and I have froze them and they are fine frozen. Just take them out, let them warm up to room temperature, and they're great. Mm. And just get it to go all the way to the edge and make sure it's level. Get all that in there. All right, now we have the leftover dough that we have. We had about a quarter of the dough left. And so what we're going to do is, just get this spoon right here. We are going to take little pieces of it and we are just going to plop it on top of the chocolate. And it doesn't have to go any certain direction or look pretty. These will actually cook up and they will rise in the oven. They will look prettier once they're cooked. But just kind of get them evenly spread out so that everybody gets equal pieces. I have my oven heating up to 350 degrees. And these are going to be baking just for a short time for, let's see, what does it say here? We're going to bake for 18 to 20 minutes, and you don't want to over bake them. They're going to be ooey and gooey. So it's probably not going to be able to do a toothpick test because of all the chocolate and the peanut butter. But we can kind of keep an eye on what the cake pieces at the top look like, and when those are cooked, we'll know it's done. But 18 to 20 minutes. And they'll be a little bit light brown. All right. That last piece, where should it go? Right there. All right. That tastes good. I'm going to stick this in my preheated oven, and we're going to bake it. I'll bring you back when it comes out of the oven. And here we have our bars fresh out of the oven. And you can see it was just starting to get a little golden around the edges. And so I'm going to let this cool for just probably 10, 15 minutes, just so that we can take a slice out of it and give it a try. Okay, these have cooled probably 10 to 15 minutes. They're still very hot, but they've cooled enough that I think we can cut them without them falling completely apart. We'll see. So let's just cut. I don't know which side to cut on. Let's just cut right here. And again, I do suggest you cool them a little bit more because, of course, that peanut butter's in there and it's going to be very hot and soft in there too. So let's just see. Might not be able to get a pretty one, but we can at least sample it. I'll wait to take pictures after they've cooled and they can come out nicely. So let's just see what comes up. Okay, and you can see the layers there. Smells really good. Kind of a cake-like base, but very chocolatey on top. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera up and we'll do a taste test. Not that I need to do a taste test because I can guarantee you that these are good. I've had them many times, but I'll do it for you. Here's the taste test just for you. Let's try it. Okay, I'm using a fork. Once they're cool, they're very solid, but it's hot now. Those are good. Ooey and gooey. And the chocolate. That chocolate's good. The peanut butter taste. A little hard to get the peanut butter out of your mouth, but these are so good. I hope you get a chance to make them. Thanks, Diane. This is a great recipe. Can't leave alone bars. You got to try them. Well, thanks for coming back. We are getting ready to make a key fob here. These are really easy to make and they're really cute, and you can use some fabric scraps that you have on hand. So what you're going to need to do is purchase a package of key fob hardware, and this one I got at Hobby Lobby and it's really inexpensive, and this package contains enough hardware to make 6 key fobs. And it's an inch in thickness, so we're going to want to have a key fob strap that's an inch wide. So let's take our fabric. You are going to need a piece of fabric that is 4 inches wide, 14 inches long. And you can use any kind of fabric. If you have some canvas or just regular cloth fabric, that's fine. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to iron your piece of fabric in half the lengthwise way. We're just going to get that middle line. Then what we're going to do is we're going to open it back up. We're going to lay it flat and we're going to fold the outer edges to that center line and press those. Just be careful when you're pressing not to press your fingers. There is steam in my iron and so it is very hot, so just be careful. Sometimes this is a trickier job than anything else in this sewing project. So we'll do both sides. And what this is doing, it is sectioning our fabric into 4 equal pieces going lengthwise. So we're just about there, just a little farther to go. And I just love this fabric. It looks so vintage and bright and cheery. Now we're going to also go ahead and just fold it one more time and just give it a nice press all the way across, because we want all of those creases to be well pronounced. We need to see those, and we are going to be folding them back like this, so we want to make sure that that's all nicely creased. Now if you like a lightweight, really flexible key fob, you can right here go ahead and stitch the sides. It will be a little more flimsy, but if you like it that way, that's great. But I'm going to make ours with interfacing. Now you can purchase some fusible interfacing, and if you do, you'll need 2 inches by 14 inches. And this is the kind you just iron on. And you would lay that right in the middle, but right on top of those 2 middle spaces. And so you just iron that in, and you would fold all of that back and then fold it in half again, and that would be how you would make yours. But not everybody has the fusible interfacing, but there's a lot more people that have just plain old batting. And if you don't have batting, cut up a washcloth or a towel or something like that to give it thickness. Now this is going to go in one of the squares in the middle, or one of the rectangular sections in the middle, and I'm just choosing that one right there. And so in order to make sure it is secure, we're going to take some Elmer's school glue, and this is just the stick school glue, and we're just going to put a strip of that glue right in that rectangular space that we've pressed right there. And this is just going to hold it in place so that we can make sure it's not moving around on us. And I'm sure you could probably get away without using the glue. So we're just going to lay that here and make sure it's right there in the proper space. And really, I could probably cut this thickness of the batting just a hair less than an inch, because once we wrap that top piece over, it needs to go all the way to the edge of that bottom part of the batting in order to keep it at a 1-inch key fob strip. So here I am pulling it down, trying to get it to match up with that bottom of the batting. And I think if you just trimmed it a little shy of an inch, it'll work a little easier. So then I'm going to press the back just to get that glue to set. And that will just dry that glue out and let it set. Now I'm going to fold the bottom piece up and then fold it in half. Now here's where I have a little bit of a problem. When I folded it in half, that top piece was a little bigger than the bottom portion, and so it hung over, and we don't want that. We want them to match up just perfect. So I'm pulling it down just a little bit more. Just working it with my iron, and let's try this now. So now I'm going to make sure that it is matching up with those edges. You don't want one edge sliding down. It will cause you not to catch it when you're doing the top stitch, and it also doesn't look very nice. So you want to match those edges up perfectly, and so give it some nice steam to really work that in, and you can manipulate it to make it work, and this is working fine. But like I said, trimming that piece of batting just a hair smaller than an inch will help this. Okay, I think I've got it pressed. Now at this point, you can use clips on it to hold it or pins, and you can see how it matches up nicely there now. And I usually put a couple of pins in it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch close to both long sides of this strip, and just, like 1/8 of an inch out from the edge, just really close. So here is what it looks like once it is sewn, and you can see the stitches there. And on the ends, they're raw and unfinished, and that's perfect. We're going to trim them, and you can decide what size you want for your wristlet, so just cut it to that length. Just make sure you have a nice straight edge, because that is going to be placed against the back of that key fob, and it will be closed in. So let's get a pair of pliers. Now they do make pliers that are specifically for key fobs that have plastic on the tips, but if you take a piece of batting or fabric, you can do it just fine. And I'll show you how I do it with just regular pliers. So you put your 2 ends together, and then you take your key fob, and on the open end you're going to place the fabric all the way to the back of it. Now there are little teeth in there that are going to grasp the fabric, so you need to make sure that fabric is all the way back there. You can see that tooth was trying to hold it back. There we go. And also make sure the edges, the outside edges, are all even with your key fob, and you're ready to now use the pliers. And so here I have my regular set, and what you're going to do is you're just going to clamp it like that, but we're going to put something soft over it. And so here we have the batting, and you just need to be real careful not to move it, and you can pinch it, and it's quite easy to do. And you pinch it until it is closed as far as it can be closed. And the batting got a little caught in there, but it just comes right out. And you can see through there that everything looks secure. And if you did have an accident where it didn't work, you can pull that apart. I think a flathead screwdriver probably will help do that, but try to get it right the first time. That looks real good. All of the edges seem to be matched up. I give it a tug and let those teeth sink in, and that will make it secure. Now we're going to get our key ring, and we're going to put the key ring on just like a regular key ring. You just open it up and slide that square portion through it. And there you have your really cute wristlet key fob. They are so fun and easy to make. You're going to want to make several. These are great to give as gifts. Make them in seasonal fabrics and your friends will love them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. Also, don't forget to like and share. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.